King has a problem in Cleveland. Carl Stokes does not want him to come to Cleveland. He wants to win, and he thinks that King will alienate the few whites that he needs to get. And so you will not find any pictures of Carl Stokes with Martin Luther King, even though he came to Cleveland almost every other week during the summer of 1967. So, and this is really not written about in the history books. I'm surprised when I go and read most of the biographies. They don't really emphasize Cleveland, but Cleveland was what it was all about for him. It was all about moving civil rights into black power. And in a lot of ways, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X kind of moved towards each other at the end of their lives. Interestingly enough, both of them were 39 years old when they were killed. It's hard to believe how much influence they had in this world. But, you know, you have Malcolm X moving towards human rights and Martin Luther King moving towards more aggressive black power as he's being pushed by it. At the same time, Cleveland is the center of the universe here on, this picture is known as the Ali Summit. Talk about somebody taking a knee. You know, this is June of '67, and what I like, and the reason I have this, I love this photograph. It's Jim Brown, the greatest running back of all time, and he calls in all of these black athletes to talk to Ali, who is saying he is not going to join the Army, that he's going to resist the draft. This is in Cleveland, Ohio, and you can see Bill Russell is on one end, then Lou Alcindor, later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then a lot of other football players in the back, some Green Bay Packers and other Cleveland Browns. But the guy who I like in this photograph is all the way to the left. You see Carl Stokes, who is the only, by the way, the only non-athlete in this. And Carl Stokes, 2 weeks from this photograph, will declare his race for the mayor, to become the mayor of Cleveland. Next to him is a guy named Walter Beach. Walter was on the team with Jim Brown that won the championship in 1964. They shut down Johnny Unitas, and his like 27-0. He was the cornerback, who was the shutdown cornerback. But Walter is still alive. And Walter and I have probably talked 25, 30 times about all of this. When he was going through his life as an NFL player, he was from Detroit, and he met Malcolm X and went to his Ballot and Bullet speech up in Detroit, the one we listened to the segments of. But he also will be one of the last guys to talk to Fred Evans before the shooting starts. So he's a very important guy to me. He's a wonderful human being. In fact, most of our telephone conversations end with him saying, "Peace and love, Jim, peace and love." And that's appropriate. I think today is Ringo Starr's birthday. That's his big tagline. So Stokes is running. Again, you won't see King with him, but King was there very much. And when he came to Cleveland, he met with pastors, but he made sure to include Ahmed Evans, who was the militant black nationalist at the time. So this is a picture of them. This is also that picture I showed you. This is the day before Carl Stokes is elected. And so King, and to me, I love this part of the story. I don't know if you know this or not, but after he violated the injunction in Birmingham, the case went up on appeal. So he served so many days in the Birmingham jail and then was let out like 5 days early on bail. It went to the United States Supreme Court. And in 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court, the Warren Court, ordered him to go back to jail for 5 days because he violated the injunction. And we just had a president who pardoned somebody for violating an injunction out in Arizona. King went back to jail, and he went back to the Birmingham jail right before this picture was taken. And he had 3 books with him: an economics book, Nat Turner's book, The Confessions of Nat Turner, and he had one other book. I can't remember what it was. But he then comes back to Cleveland because he wants to be in Cleveland when this great event happens that Carl Stokes wins. Carl Stokes does win, but he barely wins. And you'll look in vain for King standing next to him. He was in Cleveland. He was being held in a hotel room by Carl's brother, Lou Stokes, who became a very well-known congressman, a wonderful human being. I never met Carl, but I met Lou many times. But they did not want, Carl just didn't want Martin Luther King there to cause alienation as he started his what he was going to do. And by the way, Cleveland elected somebody on a Tuesday, and the following Monday they were in office. So he didn't have any time to do anything. He just did it. But this is the victory of Carl Stokes in Cleveland. Martin Luther King, as I said, was not happy about this. So this is the day, this is a short clip. This is the day after Stokes wins. And, you know, you would think this would be a very happy day for Martin Luther King, but he's very unhappy. In fact, Coretta Scott King told Ebony magazine that this was the greatest snub of his life, not to be included in the, you know, in the celebration.